Welcome to tonight's Poison podcast. What's your poison?
Well, guys, welcome to another podcast. We have a very special guest here today, fourth generation master distiller, Grace González. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. Nervous, but excited.
Well, you know, we always welcome celebrities such as yourself, especially someone who's going back, 150 years in history, right?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Wow. And you're a fourth generation. Is family involvement with the brand?
Not with the brand. The brand, it's this year it turned 26 years.
Okay.
But my family has been in the tequila industry a little bit less than 150 years. I'm the fourth generation master distiller and the first woman as a master distiller.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When I saw that, I was like, wow, that's a statement. There's not too many. It's still a male-dominated industry. So we're going to get into it a little bit and talk a little bit more about that. But to start it off a little bit with a little bit of icebreaker, if you could share a tequila with any historical figure from your past, or not necessarily your past, just from history, living or dead, who would it be, and what kind of a conversation do you think you'll have with that person?
Oh, you're going to think that I'm making this up, but it's definitely my father.
Okay.
It's crazy because I go with him to the fields since I can remember. And every time that we're at the fields or we're at the distillery, there's always something new that I have to learn. I've been in this industry for a little bit over 18 years. And still, every time that I'm with him, like, didn't I know this? It's just like, it seems like he would know everything within this industry.
Sure.
So I'm very lucky to have my mentor and my hero, we can say, alive and very close.
That's amazing. I mean, I read somewhere that as even in kindergarten, a teacher had asked at some point, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you said, I want to make tequila. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. That's a funny story because that got my father a little bit into trouble. Because, when you're growing up, they ask you, what do you want to be or who you want to become? And everyone was like a firefighter, a mom, dad, whatever.
Yeah.
So they finally asked me, and I'm like, I want to make tequila. So they thought that my father was having a little bit of a problem. They called my mother, and my mother was like, no, you have to understand my husband makes tequila, and she's very close to him. So I think that growing up, I wanted to be like my father. And probably when I was like 13, I realized that I was very into like aromas and tasting new things. And it's a good thing because I can smell amazing things. It's a bad thing because I can smell anything. So we were at the barrel warehouse in a winery. And that's when I look at my dad. I'm like, I want to do this for a living. This is definitely what I want.
Yeah, your family has deep roots in tequila making, right? So there's so much history there. What was it like growing up in a tequila house, basically? Anything else you could share? Do you have any siblings?
I do have one brother. He's also involved in the business between us. He's the brains behind everything. So I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for him. It was quite interesting because I think that something that my father and I share, it's that passion for trying new things, sniffing on different products. So I grew up, my father asking me, what do you find here? And didn't have to be tequila per se. It could be bourbon, it could be whiskey, it could be scotch, he was just like very interested in knowing what was I perceiving. And also food has always been a huge part of our, not only culture, but our family. So it was quite interesting growing up like that, pairing things, and we have access to all those fun things.
El Mayor has been a great tequila. I've been having it for a few years now. And, obviously not obviously, but most brands are very similar in some style, but El Mayor is distinctly different for me. What do you think sets that distinct signature profile? What makes El Mayor different in your opinion, and how you guys approach the agave market?
Well, truthfully, I think that it all has to do with the quality of tequila. I mean, if you ask my father, he'll say that amazing tequila is made at the fields, not really at the distillery. I'm not 100% sure of that. I think that it's the perfect marriage between having the best quality of agave, but also you're able to ruin it if you don't have a good process at your distillery. And as a master distiller, distillation process, it's quite of my passions. So going back to that, I feel like if you have the best quality of agave, good quality of water, because as you know, to make tequila, it takes only 3 ingredients: water, the yeast, and the agave. So I think that that's the key, how you take care of your plants, how you harvest your plants, and obviously the gentle process that we do at the distillery. And one thing that I found that it's very important for our company, it's to keep the quality of our products, consistency and quality.
Gotcha. You guys are located in the valley or the lowlands, right? That's where that's where the agave is coming from, but the distillery is still at pretty high elevation of the valley.
So we used to have the distillery in the middle of the city of Guadalajara. Recently, and I mean recently, 6 years ago, we bought the second distillery, and it's outside of Los Altos de Jalisco. So that's called the Highlands of Jalisco. All the agave that we use, especially for El Mayor, comes from plantations that we own. In that way, we can control the quality of the agave that you're using, and we only use agave from the higher regions, meaning meters above the sea level.
Okay.
So it could be from the valley area, but at least it has to be 1,600 meters above the sea level where we're harvesting for El Mayor.
Okay.
And if we're harvesting, because it's a mix between both areas, from Los Altos and from the valley area, but it at least 1,600 meters above the sea level. That's what is important for us.
Let's go back a little bit to the basics. Tell me about the brand El Mayor, what the name represents, how did it all start? Obviously, now that you're here involved with it. And one other thing that I want you to really touch on, I really enjoy, you guys come up with these limited editions. You know, they touch on a different style, different barrel, different influences, and I think that's really brilliant. So talk about that a little bit.
As I mentioned a little bit earlier, my family has been for many years in the tequila industry, but 39 years ago, my father decided to go independent. And 26 years ago, he created his first 100% agave. So when he produced his first more, let's say like a little bit higher end product, he wanted to honor the person that taught him how to grow agave and produce tequila. That was his grandfather. He decided to name the product El Mayor, that means the eldest, in a way of honoring him. One thing that was very important, it was that he wanted to honor the traditional method of producing tequila, which means first cooking the agave, then obtaining the juice through a milling system, fermentation, distillation, and finally maturation if needed. So that's the story behind how El Mayor was born. And of course, the whole line, it's fabulous. We have Blanco, Reposado, Añejo, and Extrañejo. And we started doing limited editions. To be fully honest, that was like, I feel like it was the first time that I was about to lose my job. But I got creative, and I bought a bunch of barrels, wine barrels, because back in the day I was drinking a lot of Chardonnay. Let's not say a lot. I was drinking Chardonnay. I was able to purchase some barrels. I brought them to the distillery, and I think that it was around 79 barrels, something like that. So it was not like a little experiment. And so I filled them up with tequila, thinking, well, I'm going to rest my favorite tequila.
Are these 300-liter barrels, or they're smaller barrels?
No, yes.
Proper.
No, full barrel.
Yeah.
And so I brought them and filled them up, and I placed them in a room that now it's called the Grace's room. It was like my little tasting place that I have like in the back of one of her distilleries. And so I filled the barrels and everything. And after 2 months, I went to try it, and the product was horrible, undrinkable. Waited another month. It got worse. It had oils floating. And there was like, it was insanely bad. So I called Paul. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? He's like, well, don't worry. Like, we'll filter this product. Don't worry. We did not throw any tequila. I was like,
we distilled or you know,
yeah, what you do is you filter it in. Yes.
Okay.
You filter it, not distill it, you filter it in order to remove all these oils.
Okay.
You have to think that every time you filter more your products, you're not only removing the oils, you're also removing good acids like aroma, flavors.
That's true.
And soda colors. So you end up with something completely flat that is only going to be good to be aged again.
Okay.
So it's like starting back from zero.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Paul was like, well, at least you know that those barrels are not going to work. And I'm like, well, I filled them up. He's like, well, what do you mean you filled them up? And I said, well, all of them. It's like, how many do you have? I'm like, you know what, I know. So now they have the joke that every time that I buy something, they're like, that's not like buying shoes. I learned the lesson. I was very worried. He helped me. He's like, oh, look, we're gonna fix this. So we ended up filtering the tequila. Then I charged the barrels. They turned out to be amazing by the end. One of the BPs was at the distillery from Luxco. And he's like, what's going on in that room? So they told him the whole story. They were making fun of me. And he was like, hey, I want to try it. I'm like, sure? It's like, yes. So he tried it. He's like, can I have the juice? I'm like, sure you can. And he was like, well, I want to tell you a story. So that's how our first limited edition started. And it was El Mayor rested in Chardonnay barrels.
Okay.
Spanish Chardonnay barrels. And then it sold so well, I was able to sell my first bottle in Colorado. Like to really, really like hand sell it. And I was very excited. And after that,
It's your creation. It's your, you're following a family recipe, or you're making it a little bit of your own. But now you went into the kitchen, you tried different ingredients, and you changed the dish up. Kind of messing with the tradition a little bit. But innovation is also important. And you guys, you invented something,
Believe
out of the
it.
distillery,
Great,
which is great. And I see different iterations coming out, and people like it. I like it.
Yeah, and you know what? The second one was my dad wanted to create something that it was single state, and it's called Los Lobos. Los Lobos is his favorite plantation, and he rides horses there like very, very often. But that was a blanco, and then we just started doing fun things. So I was the first one. Then second one was my dad, and then my brother and I started working together, and we came up with one of my favorite ones. It's the rum because we really liked Pirates of the Caribbean. So we always have like a story behind every barrel that
That's
we
awesome.
got.
The
Yeah.
rum was delicious.
That was very good. We did port, we did cherry. We recently did cab, which turned out so well that it's added to the line.
Now, is it like a once
So
a year type of thing now?
yeah, we were doing once a year. So
Awesome.
we tried to keep it that way. Last year, what we ended up doing, it was the 25th limited edition because it was the 25th
Correct. For
anniversary
2023,
for-
right?
Yeah.
That was the
Later.
extra añejo.
That was extra añejo, and the way that we keep consistency in our
It was only
products,
8,000 bottling, right?
yeah, it was just little. It was a very small amount. So the way that we produce or keep consistency in our products is by blending barrels. And for the first time, my father went to the warehouse, selected 50 barrels in different parts that he wanted, tried, I believe, 47 of them, because we never did that. We all blend those barrels, and then you taste that batch. And so for first time, he tasted barrel by barrel. He selected his 23 favorite.
Yeah.
Like my brother selected one, I selected one, and then we blend them.
Sounds like a very French thing. I think when they do a high-end cognac, that's exactly what they do. That's how they select their eau de vies and then kind of blend them together. That's
That's
interesting.
exactly where he got it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I used to love cognac. Well, I still love cognac, but that was my first love.
Oh, well, there you go.
That was my first love 20 years ago. So yeah, that's a really, I love that. You guys have the tradition, but you're also innovating, which is very unique. And I think more and more distilleries will start experimenting a little bit more, but you were early, which is nice, to do that. And it's working, what you're creating is working. It sets a difference on the marketplace and on the shelf. All right, so let's talk about consumer education and trends. The tequila category is so massive now. In the last 10 years just went boom. However, I feel like there's still some customers out there that are still coming on board slowly but surely. And there's still some misconceptions out there. What are some of the misconceptions that you've heard about and that you can clear for the audience, in your opinion, since you travel all over and educate on tequila?
Well, I think that the biggest one is, well, tequila will give you a hangover. And I always tell them, like, once in college, and unfortunately we all did it. And it's so easy to say that tequila, especially, I've heard this a lot. If it's not 100% agave, it's going to give you a headache. That is not true. What it's going to give you a very bad hunger, it's overdoing it. And then you forgot about the beer that you had at home before you left your house, the wine that you had at dinner, and all the mix you did that you forgot to hydrate, or even worse, you forgot to eat. That's when it's going to cause you a hangover. So if you're consistent with your water and you eat, and obviously if you don't overdo it, you should be fine. Also, what it's going to give you a very big hangover, it's going to be the sugar that you get from other cocktails, So you have to be careful with that. And another important thing that people don't understand, it's like, because I've heard a lot of people saying, I have very high tolerance to alcohol. And my question is, which day? Because, I grew up in the industry, and for a woman my size, I'm aware that maybe I can hold my liquor a little bit better, but it also depends in different days, how your emotions are, how your body health is. So there's not such a thing. You have to be very conscious when you're drinking and take a minute and feel how your body is feeling, just like anything else. It's like eating.
Yeah.
Sometimes you are craving a lot more carbs, a lot more fat, a lot more anything.
Sure.
So you have to be very conscious with your drinking. So that's I would say that's like the biggest thing that I've heard. And again, that they say that if you're not drinking 100% agave tequila, then you're drinking the bad product. That is not true. That's just two different animals.
Awesome.
One is made for one thing and the other is for another one. If you ask me, when I'm sipping, I'm usually sipping at 100% agave, more so than a tequila that is not 100%.
On that note, if you were not sipping and you wanted a cocktail, is there a cocktail or two which are your go-to with El Mayor?
I usually don't drink cocktails because I like to enjoy the true flavor of tequila, but I will never say no to a margarita. Everyone that knows me, they know that, I don't know why, I'm very weak to a margarita. Chips and salsa, very Americanized, but I love that.
Yeah.
But lately I've been enjoying a lot Manhattans and old fashions with
Okay. I love classic
salsa.
cocktails.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons I go to Manhattan a lot, just to go to different speakeasies and try different cocktails like that. Classic.
I love it in a Manhattan. And there's another one that I've been drinking a lot with tequila. I totally forgot. It's the one that has vermouth and is it vermouth or no Campari?
You talking about just Negroni?
A Negroni.
Awesome.
Negroni with tequila. It's
That's nice.
absolutely amazing. It's very refreshing. So I like those. And sometimes, like, honestly, if it's like a very hot day and I don't want to have like just named tequila, I will have it with sparkling water and a twist of lime.
Yep, that's usually my go-to, especially in the summertime for sure.
Oh yeah,
It's refreshing,
it is very.
and you're hydrating yourself.
Definitely.
That's the key. Well, I appreciate your time. I know it was very short and sweet. We didn't have that much time together, but a little fun last question. If you could describe El Mayor in 3 words that aren't related to tequila, what would they be?
Classic would be one of them. Is well balanced one word? That's
Well
not-
balanced will work. Well dash balanced can be one word for sure.
Yes, and fun.
Fun. Okay.
Fun.
I like it. Well, especially with the experimentation you guys are doing. It's great. Thank you so much for your time. I have a little gift for you.
Oh, that's
So,
exciting.
I started doing this. This is with my brand. I did this in 2020 to commemorate 2020. It's a challenge coin, and it has 2020 engraved on the side of it. And this is number 81 of 100.
Oh my
I don't-
God. Well, thank you. It feels so special now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
Grace,
so much.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.